Hi guys, this is SNL Gaming and it's Lewis here today, and I'm going to be talking about PC upgrades for the future because a lot of birthdays are in September, coming up to Christmas if you haven't got your birthday yet. Some Battlefield 3 gameplay in the background to keep you entertained while I talk about upgrades. So first of all, let's start with the CPUs. Intel have recently just released Skylake with an i5 and an i7. i3s aren't included in this lineup, so you're gonna have to pay a bit more if you're gonna go for the i5. They run on a different chipset to 4th gen, so you can't use, say if you're currently running an i5 4th gen, say 40k or something like that, you're not allowed to, well, you can't run it on the same motherboard, so you'd need a new motherboard. But I wanted to talk about X99, so 5th gens versus 4th gens versus the new Skylake, which is technically 6th gen. So currently I'm using a 4th gen i7 4790K because I had it before Skylake was out and 5th gen was out of my price range, so that was my reason for choosing it. It was like sort of the best I could get for the money. I mean, it performs really well, so I can't fault it in any way like that. The only trouble is it uses a 1150 socket motherboard rather than a 2011, which is what 5th gen uses. So I can't have DDR4 RAM, and I can't have, like, I can only go up to 2400 megahertz of speed, which isn't a problem, I mean, because that's sort of standard. I'm looking to upgrade myself to 32 gigs of 2400 megahertz RAM. But anyway, so for you as an upgrade, if you're running an i3 or an i5, definitely go with the upgrade to an i7, because you will notice the difference playing games that are CPU intensive. For example, Arma 2, that's still popular, and that's one of the games that people still play a lot. With an i7 I noticed a massive difference in FPS, going from like averaging 30 to averaging like 40 plus, which for the price that you actually paid for an i7, which is about £250 I think, not sure what that is in dollars. That's, it's not actually that big of a deal, plus then you get all your rendering benefits and stuff like that. Skylake, which is brand new, as I mentioned earlier, isn't actually that more expensive than 4th gen, so 5th gen still remains the most expensive that you can have, because they have hex-core and octa-core processors, whereas Skylake are quad-core, but they have hyper-threading, so they're effectively 8 cores. So for someone who's running a 4th gen i7 and is looking to upgrade, I wouldn't say it was personally worth it to go for Skylake, because you're not actually going to notice that much difference. I mean, you will in games, because that's what Intel have focused on for it. But if you want like rendering power or just general CPU power, you're going to end up going with a 5th gen i7. So that's your sort of best bet for you. Moving on to a GPU, which is a popular upgrade all the time. Everyone's after new GPUs, whether you're Team Green or Team Red. I'm personally Team Red, as well as Sam, who is also on the channel. We're both Team Red. It depends on your price range. AMD Team Red makes some absolutely fantastic cards for the money them charging. I mean, I've got the 295 X2, which cost me £500, and on things like Valley Benchmark, Heaven Benchmark, that's beating 980s, beating SLI 970s in, like, even the Strix one from Asus, two of them. I think it just beats a 980 Ti on Heaven benchmark. Not on Valley, but on Heaven it does. Yeah, so, but then, if you want, I don't know, say a cheaper GPU, or you're just getting into gaming, Team Green does beat AMD there with their GTX 750 Ti, which is a quality card, and it's cheap. It's only £100. So if you're like going entry level, just getting into gaming, I don't know, maybe you're building your first PC for Christmas or your birthday upcoming, I would recommend that card. If you're not going to be like, I mean, don't expect to max everything out on Ultra and play at like 60 plus FPS all the time. You will end up scaling down to maybe medium or high settings, but it's still a good card as an entry level. If you maybe, I don't know, say in between like really high end cards like the 980 Ti, 295X2 that are at the 500 plus mark, but then you don't want to spend say £100, something like that, you know, something cheaper, you want an upgrade from what you've already got, then I'll suggest say 290X is a good card. And to be fair, I think Team Red wins because they're 290X, and if you decided to buy two 280Xs and run them in Crossfire, they beat Nvidia's options of the 970, which I did have one, and I know how they sort of work. They're good cards, but they're a lot more pricey than say a 280X, which is only just behind it. So say if you wanted to run two of them, you get similar performance in the 280X Crossfire as you would to two 970s in Crossfire, so you might as well save yourself some money and do the 280Xs. So moving on from GPUs, we're going to cover motherboards. You've got to go with what your processor needs, whether it's 1150 socket or 2011 or 1151 for Skylake. You've just got to pick what it needs. RAM, you've got to go with, again, what you need, whether it be DDR3 for 4th gen or DDR4 for 5th and 6th gen Intel processors. Then if you decide that you need more storage, you can definitely buy hard drives. I mean, you're always going to need a hard drive. It doesn't matter even if you go and buy, I don't know, an Intel 1.2 terabyte SSD that goes in a PCI 3.1 slot, you're still going to need hard drives. Just because they're cheap and you can get a lot of storage on them, so it's worth buying them. You can run them in RAID 0 if you're like that bothered about immense speed. I mean, it won't get you, like, it makes them more unreliable to run them in RAID 0, but you know, if you really just want to squeeze every little bit out of it to get the fastest read and write speed, then that's what you do. If you want more storage but want fast storage, but only say for an operating system, SSDs are a must-have. Even if you're not like changing your operating system or anything along the lines of that, I'd still definitely have an SSD and put your OS, like your current existing one, onto it, because you get faster boot times. You know, put all your key programs on that you use all the time, like Skype, say, Google Chrome, Steam, Origin. You know, all the programs that you're just going to be constantly loading up all the time. Just stick them on there and it makes it so much faster. I mean, my PC boot, I'm running Windows 7 Ultimate 64-bit, probably boots to the point where you can open apps and just start doing something in about 20 seconds from a complete cold boot, compared to on a hard drive where it'd take 40 seconds plus. If you decide to go with all these upgrades, you're going to need power. So a PSU upgrade might be on the horizon. Whether that's something you just needed anyway, or if it's something that you're going to have as a result of your upgrades. Because I will tell you, if you end up with a 295X2, you will need 1,000 what's if you're running like quite a big system, like maybe quite like 3 hard drives on it, say, an SSD, all your normal stuff like your processor, motherboard, fans. If you're, I know fans take up like minimal watts, but it all just counts. You don't want what happened to Sam to happen to you, which is his power supply blew up and literally melted the back of his case. So, that must have been fun for him. So yeah, that's definitely something you want. A case is something you might need to consider as well, because if you're putting all this new hardware in, but your case is too small, or you just don't like your case in the first place, definitely it's time for an upgrade, because cases are relatively cheap and you can get some nice cases. You can get Corsair 750D is about £125, and that's a massive case. You wouldn't need to upgrade from that again, because you can fit like a full loop in that and everything you'd ever need, so it's not like you'd run out of space. Monitors are another thing. It's pointless investing in all this hardware only to then go, oh wait, well I've got this really good graphics card that promised it could play games at 4K resolution and stuff. If you're only running like a 720p to 900p monitor, what is the point, sort of thing? You've just used all your money, but you're not actually going to see an improvement because your monitor can't display what you've done. So a monitor is probably a really important upgrade that you should consider getting. Depending on resolution, you can get 1080p, which is like the lowest standard of what you're definitely going to need to see, like, to actually enjoy games, if you know what I mean, and see your difference. And then if you're getting 1080p, definitely go 1 millisecond response time, get a good contrast ratio between colours, and a high refresh rate, possibly 120 to 144 Hz, so that you see the frames that you're actually achieving. If you go in for 1440p, which is double 1080p, I don't understand how it's double, but it's like twice the resolution, because 4K is 4 times 1080p. So 2K, which is 1440p, is half, or just double 1080p. 1440p is becoming more popular because it's halfway between 1080 and 4K, so it means that your games look nicer, but it's still not going to take away all the power of your card. So you're going to have to play at 60 frames or something, which is still a good frame rate, but it gives you the option to play at like higher frame rate and have a better picture as well. It's like an in-between balance. And then there's 4K monitors, which are going to take away your FPS completely. You're going to be playing at like 60 FPS sort of thing, but then you have the added bonus of playing at 4K, so your colours will look nicer, everything will just look nicer. 4K monitors will run you about £400 in the UK, depending on which one you get. You can buy really top of the line 4K monitors for £700-800, but it's not worth it. 400 quid's enough. If you're going 1440p, you can buy top of the line 1440p monitors for around £450-500, which is like 1440p with 144 Hz refresh rate and 1 millisecond response time. So that, as good as that is, if you're not actually going to be doing some serious gaming, or you're just getting a monitor and you haven't got the hardware to back it up, it's pointless. And if you end up, say, going with 1080p because budget reasons, or you think that your hardware won't cope, then one of them will probably run you, if you get a good 144 Hz one, probably run you about say £200. Right, thank you for watching the upgrade list of good upgrades to get. I hope this review has been helpful. Any questions, feel free to comment. Please like and subscribe. if you enjoyed the video, thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't, and we'll see you in the next video. This is SNL Gaming, this is Lewis here, and we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.